Um, have a roll call of members present. We got Marla Butts, Bill Rowinski, and myself, Mark Parker. And who else? We have Stuart Peasley, right? Hi, yep. Stuart.
Hi, Mark.
Okay. And Victor Peabody is not present. Okay. Okay, well, we have a quorum, so we'll move forward. Action on minutes of the previous meeting, July 13th, 2020. So I already see one typo. The members that were absent was Victor Peabody, not Victory. Anybody see any other typos?
Marla speaking. A couple of on page 2 of 3, under item C, Ms. LaJoy stated that Mr. Pratt had approval in November 2009 for drudging. That should say dredging, D-R-E-D-G-I-N-G.
Yep.
And then beginning with the paragraph, Mr. Peichel responded to each question submitted by the IWA. In the third line down, was recommended to add to the design armoring to the toe of the outside embankment. It should probably say to the toe of the detention basin outside embankment. He referenced form C-2.2. It should probably say referenced plan sheet form sheet-2.2.
Bill Rowinski, the sentence before that, he said he clarified the exist velocity scenarios. Should that be exit velocity?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that should be exit.
Okay, good catch.
And then on page 3 of 3, item 8, citizens' comments, other topics. Tina LaJoy confirmed that a wetlands complaint was recently received. On what? Wasn't there a site specific or for that complaint that was received?
Let's see.
And that you would research it and report back at this meeting. So I'm just wondering, wasn't the site mentioned where it was?
No, maybe not.
Was that the Route 1? This is Bill. Was that Route 198?
Yeah, I have a complaint for Route 198. Yes, 725 Route 198. I have another complaint as well.
That's all I had, Mark.
Thank you. Okay. We've had some corrections made, and hopefully we'll catch them all. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes with corrections.
I move to.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. Stuart Peasley, I move to accept as corrected.
Motion's been made by Stuart Peasley, seconded by Marla Butts to accept the minutes as corrected. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Old business. Application 03-20-03, ND Sladia LLC, DBA Woodstock Country Store, Route 171.
I have some
Oh, yeah, I
questions and
just-
comments.
Yeah, okay, no, I just to take a quick pause. So, yeah, in the minutes for last month, it says that it's North Woodstock Country Store. Is that incorrect? It's Woodstock Country Store, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we could catch that, that other, we need to correct on the minutes from last month. It's the Woodstock Country Store. Okay, good. Now back to this agenda. Okay, so we have a proposed automobile service station. Do we have any more questions? Any more presented items? Okay.
Marla Butts speaking. I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. Just for the record, the upland review area is supposed to be 125 feet, not 100 feet as shown on the plans. And I have a question for Stephen. On the resolution form that we got, you make reference to the 2002 Connecticut Stormwater Drainage Manual. What is that?
What is it? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, I thought you might have been wanting to mean the 2002 Connecticut Guidelines for Soil Erosion and Sediment Control, because I don't know of a document called the 2002 Connecticut Storm Drainage Manual. I don't know what document you're referring to.
Well, I think the stormwater manual was revised in 2004, right? I think the ENS
No.
manual was, no? Is it the
Yes.
other way around?
The ENS manual is 2002. The Stormwater Management Manual is 2004.
Correct.
Correct.
Which
Right.
manual were you referring to?
Steve Peichel for the applicant.
Yep, go ahead, Steve.
I'd just like to say hello to everyone and thank you for letting us comment on tonight's meeting. Just to make some corrections to the meeting's minutes that you were correcting.
Oh, good, okay.
I would just like to mention that the comments by Martha with regard to the location of the armoring of the slope, it should read from the opening of the weir at the top of the slope at the north side of the stormwater detention pond should be armored from the opening of the weir to the toe of slope. Is that clear? Because if it's just at the toe of slope, it doesn't really give a length or a width or a breadth.
Correct.
What you really need to say is from the top here to the toe of the slope.
What page was
Okay.
that on?
Page 2, right?
Correct.
Page 2, C, fourth paragraph.
So you wanted to add the weir, design armoring.
You're arboring from the opening of the weir on the north side to the toe of slope. And that's the way that the revised plans actually read. If you go to, for example, sheet 2.2, that is the grading, utility, and soil erosion control plan. And if you look at the very top left corner, the plans have been revised to show the armoring of the slope from the mouth of the weir on the north side to the toe of slope, the bottom of the slope. So that's the way the record should read, or the correct it should read.
Mr. Michael, could we, this is Bill.
Hi, Bill.
I was looking at your revision table.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Bill. I didn't get a chance to answer Martha's questions. Could I do that, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, to answer Martha's question, the guidance that we're using, and my apologies, it does read, well, it reads 2002. It should read 2004 Stormwater Drainage Manual. It's not the Erosion and Sediment Control Manual. The Erosion and Sediment Control Manual is for ENS controls throughout the site. What we're using here as guidance is stormwater development, and that actually occurs in the 2004 manual, Connecticut manual. Is that clear? Marla?
Yes, it's a follow-up question. So your design of your detention basin was based on the stormwater management manual and not on the soil erosion and sediment control manual?
That's correct. You don't use an erosion control manual to design a basin. You use the stormwater 2004 stormwater control manual in order to design the basin. There's no guidance in erosion control manual to design a basin.
That's not true. There is a detention basin design in the 2002 Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion control, and it talks about design standards. It talks about anti-seep collars, talks about outlet control, talks about a lot of design details like the compaction of the embankment, the kind of material you're using, makes a determination as the kind of anti-seep collars that you might use. I'm not familiar enough with the stormwater management manual, the 2004 stormwater management manual, to know if there's a discrepancy between the ENS guidelines and the stormwater management manual. I would have expected that they would have been compatible, but maybe they're not.
Ms.
Most
Butts,
of my questions go
if I may, Ms. Butts,
ahead.
if you look in the stormwater drainage analysis,
Mhm.
I believe there are references to the 2002 stormwater manual. So I stand corrected. If you look at section 8 in the riprap design part, Mr. Owinski, if you look at, I think you're looking at the plan, but I think you want to look at the drainage report. At section 8 under riprap design, it says specifically, second paragraph, as per the 2002 Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control. So the design manual, the drainage design analysis is based on 2002. Hopefully that's
Okay.
clear.
Yes.
Is there anything else, Mrs. Butts?
Yeah, I do have a couple, but Bill, why don't you ask yours while I organize my papers?
Yeah, it's just a small detail. This is Bill. On C2.2 in your revision table, you have a revision date of August 10th, 2020. With that riprap revision.
Okay.
A few other of your documents have August 10th, 2020 also.
That can actually be the 3rd. That's for this meeting, not the meeting on the 10th. What we had done for these documents is we had questions to resolve for planning and zoning. And we do realize that this is the Inland Wetlands Commission or agency, and we're designing for both conditions for both boards. And that revision date was put on inadvertently. It should read August 3rd, 2020.
Okay,
Are you done, Bill?
yes.
Okay. So my next question is, I see in the packet we got was that there was a letter from the Northeast District Department of Health dated July 16th, 2020, requesting significant amounts of additional information. Has there been any progress on providing NDDH with that additional information?
Yes, I actually, late last week, I spoke with Mira, and she's from the Connecticut Department of, it's actually water suitability cert. And I've sent Mira the information. She needed 2 additional forms. She needed a TMP table, which tracks the financial, let's say, livelihood, how the well system will be put together, how it will be monitored, if there is an event, who are the emergency contact people, things like that was put together. Also, there was a worksheet which documents the amount of septic gallons per day should be used in our gray water system that we're using on site. I will be sending that additional information to Mira tomorrow morning. And once that is received to Mira, she will forward that on to Maureen at NDDH. And Maureen will take that and she will evaluate the application. We also had some plan revisions, which we've done, and we will be submitting on the same day. Once we would have to receive a letter of acknowledgement from Connecticut Water for certifying the suitability of the site. So once we receive acknowledgement letter from Mira, we will forward all of the information on to Maureen at NDDH. Is that
Okay,
it?
so Maureen has attached to her letter a checklist. And in
Yes.
that checklist, she identifies a number of items. Item 27, location wells, septic systems, and other potential sources of pollution on adjacent properties. If none exist, note on plan. Number 30, show existing structures on the same lot, existing buildings, wells, and septic system locations. Number 42, system is located too close, and she's underlined drain, property line, or fill extension to go over property line easement are required, a system relocate system. Number 4, house plans indicate more bedrooms than system is designed for, need building for proposed use.
Right.
Then finally, she adds it's 46, prior to approving any design, this office needs the state of Connecticut Department of Public Health's drinking water section well site suitability certification for the proposed well. I think that's what you were referring to
Yes, ma'am.
earlier from
Yes.
Mira, what you need from Mira. Yeah.
Mhm.
So you don't yet have approval from the Northeast District Department of Health for the septic system, which happens to be located in the 125 feet upland review area. Then I have some questions about the detention basin. You refer to the weir, and I put that in quotes because, in fact, that actually is acting as an emergency spillway, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. From the 2002 Connecticut Guidelines for Soil Erosion and Sediment Control, page 5-9-11, it talks about the spillway being designed. Let me get the page out. It says the minimum capacity of a natural or constructed emergency spillway shall be required to pass the peak flow expected from the design storm of 100-year frequency, 24-hour duration, type 3 distribution, less any reduction credible to the conduit discharge and detention storage. Do your numbers verify that the design that you've got, which is about a 5-foot wide riprap channel, I'm not sure it's a channel because I don't have a cross section of it. Can that pass that flow? Yeah.
There is a cross section. It's cross section of the basin AA. Is that the cross section you need? Did you see that?
Hold on a second.
You look on C2.2. It's at the top of the sheet, basin section A-A.
Yeah, that gives me the length through the dike. It doesn't give me the width of the emergency spillway. I see from, it's a 20 scale plan that I got sent in the mail. And that's 5 feet wide, but it doesn't tell me what the depth of the channel is for the emergency spillway.
Do you see the elevation of the top of the weir? Or, I'm sorry,
Elevation of the top
there's a
of the
top.
weir in the cross section, yes?
There's a top of weir. It loops around, and I believe that number is, oh gosh,
185.25 is the 5 foot wide weir. And you have 1 foot of freeboard above that, which is required. But what I don't have is what the depth of the emergency spillway is.
well, it's the difference. If you look in the section, it gives you both elevations. So you take the difference between the two, and that's the depth of the weir.
But your plan sheet doesn't show the riprap going up to elevation 186.50. It only shows it going through a cut in the 186.50.
Well, it goes to the backside
So
of
I still having a little bit of, huh?
it goes to the backside of the bank. There's that half foot or quarter foot that of freeboard that it has between the top of the weir. I mean, the top of the basin and the top of the weir. But it goes, it ties back off to the inside of the basin.
So this is not a trapezoidal channel. Is this a flat riprap channel or is it trapezoidal?
If you look at it, if you were to take a section the other way, perpendicular to AA,
Yep.
as it, yes, it slopes down and then comes back up, or goes flat and then it comes back up. So to answer your
Okay.
question, section, yes, if you were to take a longitudinal section through it, through the top of the bank, it is trapezoidal.
Mhm. Okay. So given the size of the emergency spillway, can you verify that it can pass the 100-year return frequency storm minus the storage and minus the conduit transport?
Well, I think that's what the drainage,
Without-
if you look through the drainage calculations and you look at specifically where the design event over the weir, it's telling you that.
Okay. So then when I go to the ENS guidelines, which has been the standard for this on page 5-911, it states that the minimum bottom width of an emergency cross-section shall be 10 feet. This plan shows a cross-section of 5 feet total width. So your emergency spillway might not be wide enough, even if it can pass the flows, according to the standards.
Well, those are guidelines, Marla.
Yep,
That means
they
that
are
it can
guidelines.
be. It can be 5.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be 10.
Okay. So do you have any provisions? This is a PVC pipe installation. I believe it was what, 20-something feet long.
Where are we talking about, Marla, just so I understand
Talking
where?
the outlet structure, the low-level outlet structure,
Mhm.
the PVC. It says it's 26 linear feet of 10-inch PVC with a 10% slope. So is that pipe jointed or is that one solid pipe?
That is one solid pipe. Are you thinking that there's joints in it?
Yeah, just asking if there's joints.
No.
No, there's no joints. Okay. And since I didn't see any specifications for the type of fill that's being used in the embankment, like the percent of fines, I didn't see anything on compaction requirements. Are you putting in an anti-seep collar in that outlet structure?
Yeah, I think if I'm going to have to go to the plan and show you let's see.
If you just tell me what plan sheet it is that I would go to.
Okay, I'm going to look for myself and I can help you with that.
Okay.
Can I make a point of clarification? Our regulations, section 3.5 indicate that the upland review area would be 100 feet. I
What
think you had
what
made
version are you
mention,
looking?
you had made
Yes.
mention to 125 feet from, but that would be from the high water mark of continuous water course. So it's
What
100,
section are you looking at? Because I'll pull up the
3.5,
regs.
3.5,
3.5? Okay,
correct.
hold on a second. And that's the 2009 version of the regulations?
Yes, we've not changed this. This has been the same.
Yeah, okay. What page am I going to go to?
Page 8.
Page 8, 6, 7, 8. Here's 8. Okay. So I guess the question hinges on continuous water course, whatever that means. Okay.
This is Bill. Can I step in here? On, just off the map to the left, if you look at C 2.2, there is a pond. So I don't know where that upland review area was from a wetlands or from a pond, which means the difference be wetlands or water course.
Correct.
And there's a difference between those two upland review areas.
Yep.
I think we discussed that at one point, but I don't remember what the answer was.
So where is the pond then? Where are you referring to the location of that?
It's off the map in the upper left corner.
Okay.
So I don't know if that upland review is referring to the pond or to another wetland between there and the pond. It's not on the map. I know it there because I've visited the site.
Yeah, because it's not on the NECOG map. I don't see any pond on the NECOG map.
This is Stuart. It's up to the northeast of the property.
Oh, it's on the other. Okay, I see it on the abutting property.
It doesn't matter if it's on the abutting property or not, it still has an upland review area.
Right.
Mm. I don't know how much difference that would make though, because of the wetlands delineation along the southeast side. We might pick all that up anyways. It goes 125 feet. What it might pick up is maybe a little bit of the corner of the parking lot, which isn't picked up with the 100-foot upland review area. All right. I stand corrected. Thank you, Tina.
You're welcome.
We're just looking for the details on the embankment, the materials to be used, and the compaction requirements.
My suspicion on this, Marla, is this. With regard to the material that you would use for this particular type of basin, and also the anti-seep
Mhm.
you're talking about.
Mhm.
I believe we don't meet the criteria. We don't have the amount of impoundment that we would need in order to provide that kind of, or that level of detail, but certainly we can provide it for you.
Yeah, I think the type of material to be used in the compaction probably is important, only because the embankment will be periodically stressed and you want to make sure it remains stable.
But why would you suspect it wouldn't be?
Because I don't know what kind of material they're going to use in the embankment.
Well, I suppose it's a legitimate question, but
I mean, public waters,
pardon me?
we're in a public water supply watershed. We just want to make sure that we don't have any failures. And to be honest with you, I'm not ready to render a decision on this application until NDDH has weighed in on the septic design. So we know that whatever the design is, we're approving the design that's already acceptable to NDDH and not coming back with a revision after the fact.
Tina, if I may, last meeting, we talked about very specific answers to very specific questions. And I was told at the last meeting that the questions, if they were answered in such a way that was acceptable to the board, there would be no issues with the application. Am I misunderstanding something?
Well, I don't get to vote on this application as the wetlands agent. We normally would need health department approval, so I know there's been some delays with getting that.
Okay, but
I did believe that, you know, I was hoping we were going to have it by now, honestly.
me as well, but there are some, with the C-19 guidelines that have been put out by both state governments, we're having difficulties, contacting people. And initially, when this application was submitted to the Connecticut Department of Water Quality, it was submitted in January, and we're unable to get any answers from them, despite us trying to contact them. So while your concerns are very well merited, there is just some logistical things here that we're having difficulties with. So I could only offer that as an excuse as to not having this obtained yet. We are all working very hard to get it, and all parties concerned are looking at the application. So honestly, I understand the board's concern, and if it's certainly your right to put any, let's say, provisions on the application. However, I thought it was, I guess, clear at last meeting what we needed to do in order to complete the application. But yet again, there's an issue here, and I'm not sure how to respond to it.
I have a question for Tina. Where does planning and zoning sit on this application? I mean, what is the Inland Wetlands Commission's role in their decision-making process?
They will not be able to render any decision. The public hearing will remain open until wetlands, does their part. And the next meeting, the next public hearing is on August 20th, and your next meeting is not till September 14th. So that becomes a problem unless you're willing to have a special meeting.
So what Mr. Peichel is suggesting is that the commission render a conditional approval?
Yes.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Right. I mean, Marla, if I may, Steve Peichel for the applicant. If I may, Marla, I'd suggest that the questions that you have about the material in let's just call it for all intents and purposes a dam, because that's what it is. And also the NRC color, which I don't believe that we fall under the criteria of the amount of impoundment of stormwater that we're doing. We're not required to do. If you would like us to install it, we certainly can. We hadn't planned on it because we're following the criteria. So I would certainly go and review all of those items. We can provide this additional information about the types of material and compaction that you would need in order to make it acceptable to you. And I think it would be a way to grant a conditional approval if we could answer those two questions. And at some point we could set up, Tina, we could set up a meeting on or before the planning, board, and provide some measure in which we could continue the application with an approval answering these questions into planning. With your permission. Marla, were there any other questions that you had for us?
No, that's pretty much it. I think I would like to have other commission members weigh in on how they feel about this. I'm going to try to craft a condition for approval, but I need some time to do that. So if other people have things to say, they should probably say it.
This is Stuart. I think it makes sense with what Marla's concerns are to have those be addressed fully. And because of the nature of this application, I can see there's a real need for due diligence. If we are going to do a conditional approval, that should be, I don't know, do we draw that up now? Or do we do that following this meeting?
If the commission is going to make a decision on the application, you have to do it as part of your decision. The
Right.
motion has to contain the conditions upon which such approval would be issued.
Right.
Do we
So
have,
what I'm thinking is that,
Hmm.
Go ahead, Stuart.
do we have enough information to address that comfortably?
What I'm thinking is that the approval could be conditioned that no work authorized herein shall begin until the agency receives and grants written approval. That's how I would start it. For details, construction details on embankment materials and compaction, anti-seep collar, and receives written notification of NDDH's design approval.
That's fair.
So something like that, but I'm working on the language. I don't know how you all feel about that. That's the only thing I can think of, that you can grant an authorization if you don't feel that it's a deniable thing, but you need a little tiny bit more information. You could prohibit the start of any regulated activities until such time as the commission receives in writing and grants in writing the approval of those details.
I think that makes perfect sense.
This is Bill. The other condition that I would like to add is that approval will be conditional based on as long as there's no substantial change in the location of the permanent structures. That might, when they do something different with the septic system, it might shift everything around and cause some other issues. I don't know if you need.
You're correct.
You would probably need to have some sort of a measurable distance added to that. Because that otherwise be subject to opinion.
What do you mean, Bill? Sorry, just, you could say as the dimensions are clearly stated on the drawings based on that. If there were any revisions or changes, then that would disqualify the application.
Well, I'm saying if you're going to move the gas pump island 10 feet or rotate it 90 degrees, then we have to look at that again.
Right.
Otherwise, if it's just a couple feet maybe here and there, then it's probably not a significant issue.
Right. Agreed.
If I may, for the applicant, Steve Peichel. The types of details that Marla has spoken about and the levels of detail that would be needed in order to complete this, as well as the approvals through NDDH, would certainly not precipitate any movement of structures for both the pump islands, building structure, the gray water system. And if I may, you can certainly put that kind of verbiage in your approval, but I don't see that happen.
I'm just trying to craft the motion.
Understood.
So we have the details on the detention basin, embankment materials, and compaction requirements. What else did we have? Do you recall? Did I miss anything?
Yes. Any details? Well, first, I think we want to present any criteria that you would need for an anti-seep collar. Certainly, if it's not required under the 2004 manual, we can certainly provide it.
Okay, the 2002 ENS guidelines does have it stated. Oh, come on, where is it? All right, it's on page. Anti-seep collars, where are they? Anti-seep collars. Since very little time is spent on determining potential phreatic water surface within detention basins, it is accepted practice to design anti-seep controls as if the basin were always full of water. Anti-seep collars shall be designed for the installation of the barrel of the outlet control structure within the normal saturation zone of the embankment to increase the seepage length by at least 10% of either of the following two conditions. One, the settlement height of embankments that exceeds 10 feet. That's not the case here. Two, the embankment soils have less than 15% passing the 200 sieve, and the barrel is greater than 10 inches in diameter, which this one is not. Anti-seep collars shall be installed within the saturated zone. The maximum spacing between the collars shall be 14 times the projection of the collars above the barrel, and in no case shall the spacing be greater than 25 feet. Further, it goes on about alternatives of anti-seep collars. Alternative measures have been developed that are being incorporated into embankment designs. These measures include a structure known as a filter diaphragm, A filtered diaphragm consists of a layer of sand and fine sand which runs through the dam embankment perpendicular to the barrel. The measure controls transport of embankment fines, which is the major concern with piping and seepage. The diaphragm is designed to trap any embankment material being transported by seepage along the barrel. The flow is then conveyed out of the embankment via a pipe at the toe of the fill. I don't think you want that one. That's usually used for larger dams. I think you're just looking at an anti-seep collar.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Steve Peichel for the applicant.
Go ahead.
Under no circumstances would any contractor install 15% of fines between a number. Just think about this for a minute. A 200 sieve, just think about 200 openings in a square inch. Now we're going to pass 15% of whatever materials put in that dam on that fine soil. Under no circumstance would a contractor construct any type of an embankment like this. So while it is a good merited discussion point, let's say the constructability of a dam with that type of material would never occur. It's a good caveat certainly to have in the construction documents, but very rarely would it be used because we're talking about material that is friable. It's almost a silty kind of sand, and no contractor would use that kind of material to construct a dam. So I think while the discussion has merit, I think the constructability of such an item within a dam surface, it would not be, well, it just wouldn't be done.
Have you spec'd out the embankment materials in your contract, in your construction details?
There are sections of it, yes.
What is the material that's to be used in the embankment? What is the specification?
I think there was a section in the drainage report that actually talked about that. No, that should be on the plans. There are plan notes in the grading plan.
Well, it can always authorize, always put a condition on an approval that requires that those details to be submitted along with compaction requirements. Save us the time now for having to look at them.
And I would like to make sure that we observe the criteria in which you use them. So certainly if we can construct a dam that doesn't necessarily have the characteristics of using material below a 200 sieve, and if that is the criteria for a seepage collar, then we would certainly provide it, but we don't plan to construct a dam with that kind of material.
Yeah, but what kind of material do you plan to use?
We will put that specification on the plan, and we will also evaluate the use or need for a seeping collar. And then only then, I think what we would do is recommend using an anti-seep collar. Because I think it's a good point. You want to provide good material that is above the 200 sieve. We can put that that caveat on the notes for construction of the dam, but the constructability of using such an item is rarely used, and we can put it in if it would just address the criteria that the 2004, or I'm sorry, the 2002 manual recommends. If that's the board's recommendation.
So I'm coming up with two conditions. Let me see how you guys think about this. No authorized activities shall begin until the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency receives in writing from and grants written approval to the applicant for the following. 1, details on the detention basin embankment materials and compaction requirements and anti-seep collar. And 2, receipt of the Northeast District Department of Health's approval. And 3, that any modification of design structures required to obtain approval by the Northeast District Department of Health shall be submitted to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency for its review and approval as a modification of the permit prior to the construction of any work authorized by the permit.
This is
What do you
Stuart.
think about that?
On the first one, did you say, did you use the term or include the term specification of the materials for the embankment?
Details. I said details. I can change that to specifications.
I would use specification, yeah.
Okay. So that would be specifications on detention basin materials and compaction requirements and anti-seep collar design. And any modifications of the design of structures required to obtain approval by the Northeast District Department of Health shall be submitted to the Inland Wetlands Agency for its review and approval as a modification of the permit prior to the initiation of any authorized activities.
This is Bill. I'm okay with that.
I am as well.
So I move that. So I move that. You're all okay with that. I move that application 03-20-03 SD Swadia LLC, doing business as Woodstock Company Store, be approved with the following special conditions. 1, no authorized activities shall begin until the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency receives in writing from and grants to written approval to the applicant for the following. 1, specifications on the detention basin embankment materials and compaction requirements and anti-seep collar design. And 2, any modification of design structures required to obtain approval by the Northeast District Department of Health shall be submitted to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency for its review and written approval as a modification of the permit prior to the initiation of any activities authorized by the permit.
I second.
Stephen, Michael, how are you feeling about the wording of that motion?
Well,
Is it acceptable to you?
I just would, again, and I'm a scientist and engineer, and I apologize for maybe kind of nitpicking a little bit, but part of my methodology and ways that I do designs have to do with guidelines. And if the guidelines suggest or recommend that I use certain items in a design, and I have, let's say, the condition in which I use them, I use them. But I would just and again, I'm just having a hard time getting my arms around this one, is that I don't want to use something that is not recommended. All of the ideas about specifications for materials, compaction rates, all very, very good items to put as details on the plans. However, this seat collar circumstance, I think I've used probably in my career, which is almost 25 years. I think in any detention pond design that I've used, I probably spec maybe 2 or 3 of them. And we're talking about a lot of ponds. So what I will do, I will certainly look into it. And if you'd like to put that verbiage in there as part of the record, I have no problems with it. But I would just recommend that when in the future, when you make recommendations for language that go into an approval, that the science behind things and how they're specified is important. And we should be very careful about the language that we use. That's all. But I find the rest of the language acceptable. As far as the approval of NDDH, if I was in your side of the coin, I think I would probably make that recommendation that I provide that to you, which we will. And modifications of gray water structures or any structure that, for example, a pump or a building, if they have large deviations, certainly at this stage of the design, we don't foresee even the NDDH edits that we will be doing on the design plans will precipitate large swings and changes in the design of gray water systems or well system. So we find, I think Burton would find that those recommendations are fine as a grant for approval with conditions.
Thank you. Members, do you have anything you'd like to add or change on the motion as currently presented?
I don't have anything. This is Bill.
Thank you.
I'm good. This is Stuart.
Okay.
Marla, I know the guidelines are guidelines. They're not regulations. They're not law, but they are guidelines. And when they use words like shall in the guidelines, that's an indication to lay people, the people who are non-engineers, that this is something that's important. And these guidelines were vetted through a number of engineers that were on the committee that did the ENS guidelines. So while you may question whether or not an anti-seep collar is warranted or not, the cost of an anti-seep collar is minuscule compared to if there was a failure subsequent to it. And we're dealing with a gas station. We're not dealing with a subdivision with stormwater runoff coming from some streets and sidewalks. We're dealing with a gas station. So we want to make sure that structure remains stable and doesn't fail regardless, because there's too much at risk being in a public water supply watershed.
If I may, Mr. Chairman. Steve,
Go ahead, Stephen.
Again, I think we've outlined both in planning, zoning commission, and also in this meeting, all of the safety precautions in which the gas station has been protected even before it enters the detention pond. So Marla's concern about stormwater that might potentially enter as a result of, let's say, residuals or spills from an event from the gas station is well contained before it would even enter the basin. So the only concern that we would have, certainly if there was an issue with this collar, the only thing that would drain from the detention basin is water. So while her ideas or thoughts about that are important, just remember what we're draining from the detention pond, water. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the motion has been made by Marla Betts, and Stuart, did you second that?
Yes.
Yep, seconded by Stuart. We've had discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board, for entertaining the application, and we look forward to addressing these comments.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay. Item Roman numeral number 6, new business. A, application 07-20-16, Jeffrey Driscoll, 89 East Quasit Road, rebuild a 40-foot wall on the waterfront. I see we have Jeff present on the call today.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on the agenda.
Mr. Driscoll, this is Tina LaJoy, has hired a contractor to help him with rebuilding this existing retaining wall. My understanding is that you will not be, oh, wait a minute, this is wrong here. The foundation of this retaining wall will be,
Yeah, the foundation will not be disturbed. It's
will not be disturbed, okay.
great.
That also means you will be building on the foundation?
Well, there is a rock wall on the foundation, but it's falling into the lake.
Yes.
Right, so we will be building on the foundation and only on the foundation.
Okay.
I thought this was something that I would be able to sign off on, but I just wanted to bring it before you just to make sure, because he's not digging into, he's not changing the foundation. He's building the wall, rebuilding the wall.
The only, that Marlbeth speaking, because his wall is below the water surface elevation, technically is in the water body. It's not a wetlands agent approval.
Okay.
It's actually in the water. I know he's not changing his footprint, but if his foot was above the high water line, then he would not be in the water body itself. Even though the water is going to be drawn down when he's doing the work, technically it's in the footprint, and it's touching the water course. Mr. Driscoll, how high were you going to put the wall maximum? It looks like I'm trying to read your diagram that I got in the mail.
The average height is 2 feet. It goes from about maybe 1.5 feet to 2.5 feet.
Okay. And the existing wall sits as your property line boundary?
The existing wall on my property?
Is that your property line boundary, the existing wall?
Yes, it is.
The only reason why I ask that is sometimes the walls can be beyond the property boundary line, and that becomes potentially problematic. But you have you have an existing wall, and if that's your property boundary, then you're not going on to anybody else's property. So
Yeah,
that's all I'm asking.
that makes it easier.
And you're planning on doing it when the lake is drawn down?
Yes, absolutely.
So when does that start?
Columbus Day is when they start lowering the water, and it starts receding, getting down to the sand level or the bottom at the shore about 2 weeks, maybe 10 days after Columbus Day.
So we actually have some.
That's what we do every year, and when the water's finally down at the level that it drops about 3 feet in depth, and that pushes the dry level out probably about 50 feet from the shore.
Mark, I think this is something, since he's got until the beginning of October, and this is actually touching the water, I think we can receive this application today and then go for an approval next month, because we can't render a decision for 30 days from the date of receipt. This would be the official date of receipt of this application. So
Correct.
that's what my recommendation would be, is to accept it as an individual permit application for consideration at next month's meeting. Do you need a motion on that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's see.
One of you may make it.
This is Bill.
I move to, oh, go ahead, start. Go ahead, Bill.
I move that we accept application number 072016, Jeffrey Driscoll, 89 East Quonset Road, to rebuild the 40-foot wall on the waterfront. And we accept that for consideration at the September wetlands meeting.
I second the motion. Stuart Peasley.
Thank you. The motion's been made by Bill Rulinski and seconded by Stuart Peasley to accept the application for consideration at September's meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All, any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Jeff. We'll see you next month.
What would be the next step then? Just show up at the meeting in a month?
Yep.
Anything else I have to do?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
September 14th.
That sounds good. Thank you very
September
much.
13th.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Item 6B, timber harvest notification. Chris Bogia. I apologize if I botched the pronunciation. I was just looking at that. Where is it?
Marla Butt speaking. There's, according to the description on the second page, there's no wetlands or stream crossings associated with the harvest. And although there's skid trails that'll be used for the harvest, so it sounds like this is a pretty simple one to grant. Question, Tina, how do we keep records of these uses permitted as of right? How are they kept?
In a file. I have them here in the filing cabinet, and they're logged into the book.
So they get an application number or just a?
Yes, that we decided that would get a number, but I didn't put it on the application, but it will have a number. I can tell you what it is if you'd like.
I'm just thinking if we move to approve this, if we reference if there's a file number for it,
Yep.
that would make it cleaner.
So it would be 08-20-17. Or however, how did I do the other one? Wait a minute.
I don't have any problem with this. Does anybody else have any problem?
No.
approving it? I might move to approve the request for timber harvest as a use permitted as of right on the property of Christopher Eugene Bogia by Health Forest Products as a use permitted as of right. Did I say that
Second.
right? I hope so.
Second by Bill.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts and seconded by Bill Lewinsky to approve this activity as use permitted as of right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Yes. So moved. Now, Tina, should I sign the back of this, page 2 of this? Because there's a little box here for commission use only.
Yes, please.
So I'll write in here that we approve this activity as a use permitted as of right, and I'll sign and date it and send it in to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Roman numeral number 7, Wetlands Agent Activity Report. Okay.
I provided a report to you as to anything that I'm working on. There were a couple of complaints that I am working on. We do have a land use assistant that started today, and it's Cindy Brown who handles our minutes. She's going to be putting in around 10 hours. Well, we're kind of splitting the hours up right now, so she's going to be learning the job. And Christine really didn't have a lot of time in here. She might have had like an hour a week, and it wasn't a lot of time. So it's going to free up a little bit of time for me to get out and do inspections and be out in the field, which I really haven't had that opportunity with the applications that I've had between this and planning and zoning. So that will be very helpful, and I will be able to go out and address some of the complaints and be a little more active in providing you with more details. So that's good news.
Thank you.
Yep. And, being she's been doing our minutes for quite some time, she definitely has a lot of the background and understands things that, just anybody might not understand coming in. So it's a good thing. And so I pretty much put everything in writing as to things that I've signed off on, and if you have any questions.
Do you have any comments on number 6?
I don't have any comments because I haven't been out to inspect it. I do have, I'm hoping to get out there this week to do that now that I have coverage in here. So I don't have anything to add.
Okay. How about number 7? About number 7?
Yep, I did receive a call on that one too, and I have to get out to the property. I also have to get out and take a look at Josh Pratt's work. I did get a call in. People are wondering what's happening there. So he did submit a lot of information, a lot of pictures. So I need to put that together. So at the next meeting, I will have more details on these complaints.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tina, this is Mark. Did you receive a phone call from either Margie Roy or Richard Roy about a swimming pool they want to put in?
Yes, and I'm not sure, I did. I'm not sure why she called you. She didn't need a
Yeah.
wetlands permit for that. She's just needed a site plan, and she's kind of close to the property line, and we're dealing with that. She called Jeff Gordon as well, so she didn't
Yeah,
submit
okay.
anything. She just called and was just kind of giving a lot of general information, and didn't know where her property lines were. So I haven't heard back from her. I'm sure I will.
Yeah. Yeah, I told her to call you because I didn't think that it was a wetlands issue, but that if she had already filed paperwork years ago, that maybe you could research it for her, because she seemed to think that they had put in a permit before. I don't know, but
I didn't
anyway,
have anything,
okay.
so working on it. It would be better, if she submitted something for me to look at, at least to.
Yeah, yeah.
Suggestion, Tina, why don't you consider having Cindy take the certification, the EEP's certification program? It takes
Yes.
about, I think, about 10 to 12 hours to go through it,
Mhm.
but she will learn a lot.
Yeah,
She's going to be helping you out for wetland stuff. And I don't think there's a charge. We're allowed one free per year, I think.
right. We'll talk to her about
and-
that. We're starting with wetlands. That's our first. We started today, just dealing with the wetland stuff and slowly moving into the other. But I will offer that because it's all online right now.
It's online on the, yeah,
Yes,
the DEP website has the modules online, yeah.
So
And
that's,
I've heard people who've taken it recently said that it's really helpful. I haven't taken the newer version, but 'cause I was taking it before they did video stuff. It was all
Mhm.
live at that time. So I've heard it's really good. You learn a lot, and you can do it at your own pace.
right. Oh, that's
Would
great.
Would that be something that you would recommend for somebody like myself?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I could probably
Oh,
use a
sure.
refresher too.
Yeah,
My,
me too.
in my spare time.
Yeah, instead of watching a movie, what's the?
Well,
I've been
technically,
waiting-
you're supposed to have that done. To be a commission, to be one of our
Right.
agents, you're supposed to have that done. So I should probably get you that information.
Yeah, if you could send me a link, or that would be helpful.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
Wow.
I thought you had done that already. But
But I might have forgotten.
that's okay. We'll get through it.
I've been waiting for the new program to come out, so and it's not been out that long.
Yeah. Right.
And so I did
I know the
Mr.
chair.
Gata. Oh,
Sorry.
go
I was
ahead,
just going to say
Marla.
the chair of the Thompson Wetlands Commission took it recently, and he said it was very helpful to him. Not, being a person who had never gone through that training before. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna redo it myself if we can. Why not? I'll do it again.
It's 10 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it to me.
Roger that.
All right. So
All
that's,
right,
yeah.
other business? Update on 119 Crooked Trail extension, letter to deep.
Yep, other
Thank you
than Mr. Gata sent in that email that you received. I sent it over to you.
I was wondering, what did he mean? I don't understand is, I had hoped the commission would have requested spastically.
He
Specifically,
meant specially.
The
specifically
typo.
the The solubility, probably the toxicity solubility leaching procedure,
Okay,
which is that's what they test hazardous materials for. What's solubility leaching into the ground.
Do you think,
Have we gotten
you think
any
they'll do any-
response?
sorry,
No, ma'am, no response.
do you think they'll be doing any more testing?
We don't know. I haven't heard anything.
Marla Butts speaking. I recently sent something to the Commissioner of DEP because I had an application in Thompson that needed some input from DEP and got no response. The applicant was having trouble getting response. And not knowing who is in control of what sections anymore in DEP, and I had a couple of issues, I sent it to the commissioner via email and then followed by snail mail. And the staff that it got to were a little bit upset that I had sent it to the commissioner. She was away on vacation at the time, and I guess it kind of wrangled a couple of chains here and there. But if this becomes one where we never hear anything back from Mr. Fregon regarding what DEP's position is, we're going to have to decide whether we want to follow it up and go up the chain of command.
Right.
You got to do, yeah. This is Stuart. I think, you know, it makes sense, Marla. You got to do what you got to do.
This is Bill, just an idea, but we contact the Witches Woods Board and see if there are any noticeable changes to the lake or unusual changes such as fish kills, which with the hot weather, I mean, it's be hard to sort that out. But, you know, if there's no weeds at all in the lake this year, that there usually is, especially when it's hot. Or any other unusual conditions.
Maybe Tina, is if you got any time to do field work, if you can do a drive-by and take a couple of photographs of the properties, because he says nothing's growing. So let's just keep a kind of like a photographic record of what's going on.
I think Stuart had gone out there over the last 3 weeks. He did submit that report at our last meeting, and he did indicate that things seem to be coming back. Am I right?
Yeah. In fact, I drove by. I thought I would drive by again. I can do that too. Yeah, it's not far for me, so I can take a quick ride through. Take some
Yes,
Can you
photos.
take any photographs from? Can you
From
take
the
any
what?
photographs, Stuart?
Yes, I did. And I put a field report together and sent it.
I'm thinking if you go by again, just take some more photographs. Just
Okay.
document changes over time visually. Yeah, that might be helpful.
I can do that.
You're so good.
Yep, that's true.
All right.
I see Mr. Mark Adamek is present on our feed here, and I think he is probably here for the gas station. And he may not know that you did approve it with conditions, if he can hear us. That's probably why he signed in, so. Just wanted to note that.
Yep.
I can hear you now.
Oh, there you are.
I'm here. I'm new to this kind of thing, but I've unmuted and I'm Mark Adamek. So I got here late. So I just thought I'd tune in to see what might have or get a hint of what might have gone on.
So Mark Parker is here. I just stated that it was approved with conditions. So the minutes will be out and within 7 days, so we'll get you the details on that.
All right,
But it
that's
was
fine.
with conditions.
With conditions, okay. I'll look,
Conditions, right.
Yeah, we
we'll
don't
look-
have the health department approval yet, and
right, I kind of figured that that would be the case, and I know we're working on it, so, and I understand that, you know, a final approval would wait for that to come in, so, okay, so far, so good.
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you, I guess I'm all set.
Yeah, we're just
Thank
ready
you.
to
Yep.
adjourn here shortly.
All right,
Thank you.
Okay, NatChog Healthy Watershed Implementation by Gene Pillow. Did we address that?
I started looking at it, and it's a lot to look at in a short period of time, so it's like 14 megabytes if you have all the files together. Just the introduction is, I don't know, is somewhere between 10 and 20 pages. And then there's like another 15 or so, maybe more modules to go through. So it's,
What do you-
Well, let me push that one back. Let's just review the Shepherd's Pond Dam letter and just see if anyone has any comments or concerns on that.
this is Bill, which Shepherd's Pond, where is it located?
Mill Pond Road.
Shepherd's Pond, I believe, is the pond that's below Stone Bridge on Stonebridge Road,
Correct.
right? So below the Putnam Fish and Game Club boat ramp, Bill, if you go downstream under the bridge and it opens up, that's Shepherd's Pond.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I don't understand where the dam they're talking about is. Is that all the way down in Harrisville?
Yeah, I think so.
We've gone all the way in kayaks to 171, and there's nothing between Stonebridge and there. And the only other one I know is the former Harrisville Mill site.
Right.
This is all within the jurisdiction of DEP. It's not our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
They sound like they're changing the hazard classification, well, maintaining a high hazard classification. And I don't really have any contacts in DEP dam safety anymore. So I really don't know. They said there's one building located immediately downstream of the dam, but they don't say what kind of building it is. And so whether it's a building that has a home where people live in it, or is it some kind of office building, or is it, I find it hard to believe that that water course has a B hazard dam on it, but that's what they say.
This is Bill. I believe at that point, the water gets fed to Putnam Water Supply.
So it's on the little river,
Yeah,
Right.
so it can't be very large. Let's see.
lengthwise, I'm not sure. I'd have to go look at it, but there is an impoundment there, and the Putnam Water Supply draws water from there. That's part of the issue with things at Roseland Lake. But I guess the state is trying to get away from surface water supplies also. So, but they still pump water from there or feed water from there to their water supply, as far as I know. Unless Tina's got something else about it.
I do not.
So what street is it on? Shepherd's Pond?
Little Pond Road.
Is it,
There's a
Okay.
bridge on Stone Bridge.
What's the name of the
Yes.
road?
Little Pond.
Little Pond Road?
Mhm.
But the dam is much further downstream.
It is.
it's gotta be.
It's
Is
just,
it
yeah, it's
past
below,
Summers Turnpike?
yep, it's below, what they call Shepherd's Landing, where, you know, the development there.
Mhm.
Maybe that whole stretch of the Little River is considered Shepherd's Pond. I don't know.
So it's past Peaks Brook Road, heading south past Woodstock Avenue?
Not that far
That's
south.
where, that seems to be where
If you
I'm
find
looking
it,
at, go ahead, I haven't found it yet.
on Peak Brook, you'll find intersection of Dupree Road and Lane Road. It's between those two.
Oh, I see it. I see it. I see the dam. It's just before you come to Lane Road.
Yeah.
If you're heading towards Putnam on Peaks Brook. I see it. I'm looking at the aerial photography for it. I don't know what structure they're talking about, though.
As long
There
as
is a
it-
house, but it's above the elevation of the dam, of the water body. Huh.
Assuming we're talking about the same Shepherd's Pond, because that's a pretty common name.
Yeah, well, the only dam I see is way down on Peaks Brook Road next to Lane Road.
Yeah,
And that's the dam that's used by Putnam Water Supply System. They have their intake structure there. They take up the water for
Right.
water diversion. And they
Yeah.
go to their water treatment plant. And then they have backwater lagoons or back flushing lagoons that they use also. Interesting.
They're rebuilding a bridge not far from there. I don't
Putnam
know.
is correct. They're rebuilding 2 bridges.
Yeah.
All right, well, I don't think this is anything that we have to deal with at this point in time. It's just a
No.
notification to us. I'm sure Putnam doesn't like the idea that they've increased the hazard. Huh. Interesting. Mark, can we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. I've misplaced my agenda.
Next item was update on office changes.
Which I already provided to you in the wetlands agent section, that we do have a land use assistant that will be working with me and hopefully making things a little easier in here for me to get out into the field a bit more.
Okay. Do we have any bills?
I do not have any bills to present to you.
All right. Any other communications?
Nothing.
Okay. Do the rest of you want to put any time in tonight on any comments on the NatChag Healthy Watersheds implementation plan?
Mark, I would suggest that perhaps if there was any interest in it, is to have Jean come at a meeting and talk about it a little bit as to what
Yeah.
they intend, what the goal is, instead of us having to read through all the stuff. If she could give us a synopsis, that would be helpful.
I agree.
Could we ask her to come
Sure, I'm sure she'd love to.
for next meeting?
Okay.
Yeah. And just,
That would be helpful.
Yeah, this is Bill. That would be helpful. I think part of her intention is to have some critical review of the details also. But like I said, it's very lengthy to go through.
All right, I will request that.
And I'll try to put in some time to reviewing her document. I haven't done that yet, so.
But what I did is I downloaded all of them to my computer. But like I say, there's at least 15 different modules or files.
Jeez.
Were those the ones that Tina's forwarded to us?
Well, she gave us the link to it.
A link to it, right, okay, all right. I'll go back in my emails and do it.
Gene doesn't want us doing any saving or other altering to the actual documents.
Right. Okay,
I move to adjourn.
I second the motion.
motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Stuart Peasley to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes at 8:51.